Rushikesh Nandedkar. Good morning, Rushikesh.
Good morning, Tom.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Refreshed and ready for another great day. And good to see that you are ready, wired up, and ready to go. Rushikesh's talk is going to be on operational tech binaries and the tale of deductions. I'm intrigued already. Rushikesh, please bring up your presentation
Sure.
and we will get ready to go. While Rishikesh is doing that, please do not forget ask questions. Best way of getting something out of the speakers. The most intelligent question, or perhaps just my favourite question, will win this very T-shirt, the I Love Belly BSides Delhi. I will guarantee it is washed and posted directly to you. So Rishikesh, are you ready to go?
Yes.
Okay, let's get your presentation up on the screen. I don't think it's being shared at the moment.
Yeah.
Here we go. Oops, nearly. There we go. Okay, Rishikesh, thank you very much. Please take it away.
Okay. Good afternoon, all. Okay. Today I'd be sharing some of my experiences or the struggles per se on the topic which is more related to industrial control systems or operational technologies. Where when I basically started working on the threat collection or threat intelligence collection part of the operational technologies, what all kind of the problems I tried solve and how did I do that as far as mm, reverse engineering or malware analysis of ICS binaries is concerned. I'd be discussing that. So So, a basic introduction about myself. I am a researcher at FireEye Inc Threat Intelligence Division. I basically try to understand and learn more about networks, wireless data link layer, memory, computer memory per se, and formal methods. I'm actually a big fan of Linux kernel, and I do small contributions into Linux kernel as well. Uh, so, introduction. What exactly is operational technology is or industrial it's actually another name for industrial control systems or another name for cyber physical systems. So OT basically is most of the time in our context is that particular uh, software automation which is deployed between the real production physical machines and other IT systems of any company. So when I say real production physical machines, by that I mean it could be like you can say a sugar production industry, could be a power generation plant, could be a nuclear reactor, could be a dam control system, could be a building control system. It could be such similar applications of computing technologies that we see everywhere. And yeah, for that matter, it could even be a signal control systems as well. So why ICS is important? It is important because these are the systems which are directly controlling and impacting the human lives per se. Um, as well, and when we talk of same thing in terms of production, a physical production system, they are directly impacting revenue of that particular organization as well. Now another part, like why nowadays threats are more prominent onto these OT systems. It is so because the softwares being run on such systems or on such computers are are kind of ancient, honestly, or have been developed in an era or by that mindset where they need to make work something. Security has never been taken in account in majority of such softwares. So that is a big problem, and being a low hanging fruit for bad guys, they usually try to approach such targets quickly. And yes, these devices, or rather these systems, these softwares, have been left unpatched. There is a reason for that. One of the most prominent reason is majority of these systems are producing a lot of units per minute, and taking them down is directly proportional to losing that much amount of revenue from the pocket. People actually, I mean, as everybody of us knows, security is more of a trade-off. People usually opt for not patching the things and not taking down their systems per se. uh, okay. Yeah. So when I started into threat collection of threat intelligence division of industrial control systems of FireEye, I I had a lot of questions. Like eventually, there were a lot of samples which I used to gather on VirusTotal from various sources, from honeypots and whatnot. But then these were the typical questions I had in my mind before going further for analysis. So, what makes the binary interesting for analysis? This is basically like, okay, so according to VirusTotal or maybe some another antivirus, the binary may be shown as benign, but is that still a benign thing, or shall I wait for some time to see the malicious behavior, or rather some other antivirus flagging it malicious? No, there has to be something from my end to basically deduce the behavioral trait per se. What does the binary do in legitimate mode of behavior? This was one of the biggest question I still am trying to answer. It is so because as far as industrial control systems binaries are concerned, they are not openly and easily available in the wild. So getting hold of legitimate binary was yet another, you can say, a struggle I had faced. What is the malicious activity being done by this binary? This was the trickiest part as well. Reason being, majority of the times, what antivirus or for our sandbox interprets as a malicious activity may not always be a malicious activity for OT binary. Reason being, the acts say, like, reaching out to a particular network device, or reaching out, or rather, opening up another privileged process or something, which according to sandbox or an antivirus could be a malicious activity, can actually be a normal activity for the OT binary. So this was another tricky question that usually pops up whensoever there is a ICS or OT binary. And the last question is one of the essential one to be answered. Like, what makes the binary an OT or ICS binary? Now, this is the biggest thing, or rather biggest challenge I see here, because most of the bad binaries which are actually impacting or uh, creating a problem in operational tech environments are actually affecting some another box, and from there pivoting into OT setup. Having said that, answering this particular question will probably cover most of, or rather rest of the talk here. So yeah, before going further, we first need to know, like, what exactly is a need, or rather what makes the legit binary important in this whole endeavor per se. So the problem with finding legit binaries or legit behaviors per se is there is almost no documentation available around the OT binaries, or the executables, or the, you can say, protocols or whatever being developed specific to industrial control systems. Reason being, these are closed source things. These are vendor specific things. They are basically bound to that specific hardware which is being sold and not freely available. So everything comes under the end user license of that particular license agreement of that particular manufacturer. That makes it little more tricky to get hold of legit binaries. Yeah, as I have already spoke of, these are like specific to non-public devices. When I say non-public devices, these devices are tailored to very specific need, and it's been sold most of the time. They are not freely available like our open source softwares. Huge number of manufacturers and devices. Yes, that is another big problem here. Uh, so like for example, say building control system, there could be 10 different vendors, that says 10 different manufacturers. So those 10 different manufacturers may be producing, I mean, one each of those 10 different manufacturers would be actually producing 100 different versions of the building control system devices, depending upon the requirement and need of the environment. So that makes it, that makes the scope of this whole ICS setup little more huge. Now, having said that, more manufacturers producing more devices, they are producing more software for those devices. Hence, more functions, more code, more secrets. Okay. Yeah. Challenges. Yeah, I have been actually speaking of most of the challenges itself so far. As already said, these are not usually documented things. Even the user manuals which we get along with the devices or along with the code are pretty brief. They do not speak of anything related to their internal behavior. Cryptic behavior, yes. Reason being, many of the things that are actually included in the devices or into the software are specific to the device itself. And uh, and and those things may or may not be parsable by a normally found or used uh, you can say reverse engineering tools. But that's not always the case. um, Biggest another challenge is usually distributed in parts. Yes, so even if you get hold of an executable file, you will not be trigger it completely in your debugger or in your environment, because uh, they usually, the big vendors, they do not uh, share complete executable in a single instance. So there is like they basically share executable in parts, so part 1, part 2, part 3. So these all parts has to be in place in a specific sequence, then only the you can say anticipated functionality would be triggered. So that's another big problem with ICS or OT binaries. And yes, they are acutely expensive, the devices and the software part as well. So channels to acquire binaries. Yeah. So malware sample aggregators like VirusTotal and other places. Discussion forums. Yes, many of the times we get a lot of interesting samples from discussion forums. And in-house collection systems like honeypots and other collection systems per se. Yeah, so now let's start with the actual thing. Tests of deduction. These are the approaches we will be discussing in today's talk. So first thing is static strings, another is the strings in memory. It's you can say it's an advanced version of static strings. Then there are yara rules. We will be covering yara rules at the last, or we will be discussing couple of lines on that at the end of session. Functions of interest, then fuzzy hash or import hash, API call sequences, device probes, network device probes, and that's it. So let's go to static strings. So static strings is something, so in usually Linux boxes there is a basic command called strings. If we run that particular command on a sample, it gives us pretty much of understanding of the strings which are statically available into that particular sample. So I have shown here an output of a particular sample, which is actually a PLC related functionality, which actually is delivering a PLC related functionality. So you can see the output, in the output itself, it is revealing the string in the red saying PLC station number or value received from PLC or something. So let me quickly go to demo of this, or rather I'll cover the dynamic string as well, and then I'll combine the demo for static and dynamic at the same time. Let me check if there are any questions. Guys, please feel free to ask questions anytime you have them, or if you want to store it to the end of the session, that would be awesome as well. So the thing is up to you. You can decide on that. Okay, so yeah. So static strings demo, we'll cover this soon. Dynamic strings. So here what we are trying to do is, like, we are trying to emulate that particular binary behavior into a terminal and see like how it might be producing a different set of strings apart from a static strings. So if you see the output here of this particular screenshot, you can see there are like 1 2 3 4 5 6 entries. And for the same binary, when I ran dynamic string extractor, I have a couple of more entries, like for say uh, clear screen received error and received bad message from PLC. These two entries are a newer one for the dynamic string. That says, like, even dynamic strings gives you more inputs about what exactly is being stored on the fly, or when the sample is being executed or loaded in memory. So demo time. So I probably need to stop sharing this, and I'll start sharing my VM. So give me a moment. Share screen. Sorry. Okay. I probably need to share entire screen. Is that okay? If I do that, somebody from support, can you comment if it is okay to share complete screen? Okay, I'll share complete screen, no problem. So let's go to my virtual machine. Here, let's run strings. Left something open. Oh, sure. Yeah. So I'm running strings on a specific sample to check if something of interest pops up. It's kind of huge. I'm not sure if my string is visible. Can somebody please comment if my string is if my screen is visible? Oh, sorry. In comments part, I missed on to the question. Uh, why are they in part. Okay, so a reason for that is like basically this is their intellectual property, and which is actually definitely they will try to kind of protect their all possible ways. So licensing is one part, and having them shipped in multiple parts will actually help them infringing into their intellectual property to some more extent. So that's the reason. Does that answer your question, Sarthak? Okay, so by the time he answers, let me go to the virtual machine. So just if somebody can confirm my virtual machine is visible to everybody, to attendees, that will help. Yeah. Okay, so let's grab this output with say PLC. Nothing shown up. Let's say Modbus. Yeah. So we can say a lot of instances of Modbus could be seen here. Uh, the entries in red tells us, okay, this is a Modbus binary, and yes, this is actually an ICS related functionality. So yes, this thing is of interest for us. So if I run a dynamic memory extractor tool onto this same binary, let's see what output it generates. Okay, so there are more Modbus entries as well, we can see here. And let's go for tool. So I would be using floss here to show you the dynamic memory extraction, or dynamic string extraction from memory. So BF5. Awesome. So it actually extracted a little more data. I'll try grabbing it with Modbus. I'm not sure if this would run. Yeah, it did. So you can see the libmodbus outcome, which was earlier not there, has popped up, and couple of more entries here, which are related to again Modbus functionality have been mentioned here. Okay, let me check if there are any comments. Okay, so are you still not able to see my terminal? Am I audible?
Now we can. Hi, yeah, we can now see your screen, your virtual machine. No, put it back to how it was.
Not sure what's happening.
Right, now, there, that's now visible, and we can see your virtual machine. Oh. Hi, can you hear me? Hi, Rushikesh. Rushikesh, can you hear me? Rushikesh, can you hear me?
Okay, so yes, thank you for responding. So these are two small demos. So I have used floss tool here. There is another tool. If you want to do same thing onto Windows, there is a tool called strings.txt, which actually extracts static as well as dynamic strings for you. Okay, so having said that, let's move away from the demo and let me stop sharing the screen. Okay, awesome. Okay, let's go back to presentation part. Yeah, so those were two small demos. Another important thing is functions of interest. So like many a times when we try to analyze a binary, it's actually huge amount of effort. Uh, but whether to decide on to analyze the binary or not, it can be done in the quickest way possible. So initial two tests we have confirmed, like from static strings and dynamic strings, like yes, there is something which is actually having a mention of PLC or Modbus for that matter. But further going, we just need to confirm whether that particular thing is of actually importance as far as industrial control systems are concerned. So for that, we will be doing a bit of reverse engineering. For that, I would be using Ghidra for that. And let me share full screen again. Okay, entire screen. Yeah. So on the same set of samples, I'll be doing a bit of analysis using Ghidra. So let me close all the instances. Perfect. So here it is. So I'll use this particular sample to do the basic deduction. It would require me to analyze the whole binary. So let it run through this analysis part. Okay, meanwhile, if there are any questions, we can always answer them, because this would take at least like 30 odd seconds. Meanwhile, let me check if the... Okay, analysis is done. Let's go to functions. Yeah, and I see some entry called as a new Modbus. I don't know what that entry is. I'll just go here and click on the entry to check what exactly it is. So at least I got an understanding here that okay, it is some function which is actually seeking a Modbus port. Uh, now what I'll do is like I'll try decompiling that particular code. It's actually decompiled here thanks to Ghidra, but we can do it again if required. So it is actually giving me complete understanding now, saying okay, this is some binary which is actually seeking some inputs and outputs from Modbus related functionality, and that gives me like a complete confidence on this binary. Now okay, this binary has to be analyzed going further. So I eventually I actually purposely cut down onto most of the parts in the Ghidra analysis as well, because that would be kind of out of scope for our talk here, and just to maintain the interest of attendees in the talk. But if you have questions on this, we can always take those questions now or offline, whichever way you guys prefer. So this is the function of interest. Like that, there would be another function of interest, but it would be tricky to find. So let's go back to the presentation. The demo I have already shown you fuzzy hash and import hash. Another important and interesting thing. I won't be covering demo here because that would take a lot of time to explain the demo. I'll just explain you the brief of methodology. So what here we are trying to do, or what we did was like, as we have seen in the functions of interest part, like this particular function, say new modbus outstation port function, is actually uh, is used in this binary. So we try to use the import hash to kind of calculate hash for that particular function, and then comparing that particular hash with a pool of binaries, and basically sort them out. Okay, these binaries are having this particular function in common, so let's have this function analyzed. I mean, let's have this set of binaries analyzed dedicatedly. API sequences, not fully relevant here, but in majority of scenarios, I have found this thing relevant here. Uh, so what exactly API sequences creates relevance here is whenever whenever a specific function is being invoked by the executable or a binary, it actually calls a set of APIs. So those set of APIs have been found unique to specific behavior. Now this behavior can be compared to the analogous behavior of a malware. So say for a specific malware, these APIs have been invoked in these sequences. So similar thing can be implemented here as well. And we have had some evidences of such occurrences for which were specific to industrial control systems, and I'm not talking of malware. So the binaries which were specific to industrial control systems, we had certain functions isolated, and those functions were actually calling a very specific sequences of APIs. So that gave us another level of confidence. Okay, this binary is specific to industrial control systems. For example, reading coils. So yeah, this thing. So reading coils is actually a function we usually see in Modbus related functions and Modbus related utilities. So we will shortly see the demo of like how we can reach to the reading coils, not specifically for API sequences, but we will see this. Device probes. Another very important aspect, or rather I would say one of the critical aspect. Why critical? Because most of the softwares written for industrial control systems functions, they have something or some hardware deployed somewhere in either the same box or in the local radio local network periphery. And eventually these devices, they are capturing some data in form of sensing or in form of some other readings, and they are sending it back to the software for calculation purpose, for inference purpose, for computation purpose. So to kind of check these probes, I mean, to basically connect to those devices, there has to be certain remote procedure calls or some raw sockets or some type of mechanism in place in the software or in the ICS binary, which actually will be speaking to the device and will be fetching data from the device. Now, having said that, device probes play a crucial role here. So let's see if there's demo. Yeah, this demo. So let me quickly spawn another. Okay, let me check if I'm sharing whole screen. Yeah, I'm sharing whole screen. Yeah. So I'll shut down Ghidra here. Open up another shell. Yeah. So for this probe purpose, I'll use a tool called Radare, and let's analyze a binary using Radare. So I ran the binary, and I'm trying to analyze that whole binary, or rather the radar is trying to analyze whole binary. It'll take a couple of seconds more. Meanwhile, if there's question, no question. Okay, awesome. Yeah, the analysis is done. So I'll try check what all imports are there. The list is huge. So here I'll try use the basic behavior of any software for that matter. So I'll try find something which is opening file. Why opening file? So fopen, the API or the system call for that matter in Linux, will actually try to open a file and will try to read or write over there. So there would be an evident question from you, like, why open file? What exactly is this trying to do? So when we say we are trying to open a file in case of operating systems, or in case of kernel, they are trying to read something from some location. And for most of the operating systems, everything is file. Your device is a file, your memory is a file, your normal MP3 file is also a file. So having said that, there are two entries. Let me show you here. So for open file, there are two entries. So I'll try to go to first entry and see what's there. So yeah, I could see there are more things available at that particular entry, at this particular thing. So let's try to reach out to this particular address specifically. So say seek this address and say PDS. This will give me summary. Nothing interesting found. So I'll go to another address here and I'll try check seek this one. Okay. And then say PDS. And I got something interesting here. So that says accessing coil register address field file. So as I've already told you, coils are usually frequently accessed in the Modbus protocol. I have got an evidence, okay, the binary I'm trying to analyze is actually a Modbus binary and is having a functionality which is related to Modbus. So this explains another thing into the device probe. So you can easily see that from this error, it is evident that this particular software is trying to access a particular hardware, a particular device, which as at present is not available in my system. So it threw an error saying, okay, error accessing coil register address field file, right? So here I got an evidence of a device probe. Now, similar to this, there could be network probes as well. Like there could be you can say evidence is found using maybe Wireshark or TCP dump if we run this particular binary, and before that if we trigger a Wireshark. So there would be an evident traffic can be monitored into Wireshark saying, okay, this particular binary or in Wireshark we can easily see that, okay, there is some packet actually trying to reach to so and so IP address or so and so MAC address or something like that. That gives us a clear evidence and idea about the device or the network device probe. Okay, so there's another slide on that. So yeah, there are embedded devices, remote devices. Using traffic analysis, we can easily check that thing. Not always. Reason being, there could be some undocumented protocols on which this particular software is trying to reach to that particular device. In such scenarios, traffic analysis may not thoroughly help. But yeah, for that, we basically need to place hooks onto the binary and kind of, get data from the context switches. That probably would be out of scope for the talk here. Yara rules. I purposely kept this slide at kind of, later part of the discussion. Reason being, whatever the methods we have discussed before can very well be converted into Yara rules. I tried doing that on individual test case basis, and I found that there was a lot of noise generated. This noise can very well be avoided using a lot of fine-tuning mechanisms, using a very specific type of Yara input things. But yeah, that requires a bit of patience. Yeah, for me it was initially a little challenging, but now over the period of time, as one is comfortable with writing yara rules, things go smooth. So lessons learned: failures and more failures and more failures and more failures. Why? Because again, most of the things are not documented. Most of the efforts I'm doing, I was really not aware whether they are going to lead to certain concrete uh, output. But yeah, that's what research is, so I'm fine with that. There's no silver bullet to sort all types of ICS or OT binaries in one particular go. No, that's not possible. Like like what we have seen for a Modbus and PLCs, uh, there would be something else for IEC 104. There would be something else for Profinet. There would be something for HART. So not everything could be combined into one research effort, and could be used to sort ICS binaries from a normal binary. So yeah, that's the problem. Results, yeah. So for this approaches that I have shared with you earlier, automation is pretty much possible for individual technology. We tried achieve automation in that part, could not do complete automation, but yeah, for most of the things, we have reduced almost like 40% effort overhead. Analysis was expedited because we already had a sorted set of binaries in place, so that actually helped a lot in expediting analysis, helped reducing clutter as well. Let me mention one more thing. We were able to reduce the clutter, we were not able to remove the clutter. So yeah, there were still certain false positives we got into the sorted samples. So yeah, so the clutter was not completely removed. All in all, we were able to set up a benchmark to sort operational technology binaries or ICS binaries for further investigation. And yeah, that was kind of a benchmark we were able to set up there. Okay, so that's most of my talk now. Bibliography, these are some of the resources I have used to prepare the presentation. For my work, there are more resources. If somebody of you is interested, please reach out. I'll share all the resources with you guys. So now is the question and answer time. If there is any question, I would be really happy to answer if I know the answer.
Excellent. Thank you,
Let me stop
Rushikesh.
sharing the screen.
Rushikesh, hello. Can you hear me? Hello, Rushikesh.
Tom, you're not audible if you're speaking to me.
I am speaking to you. Am I audible to everyone else?
Yeah, now you're audible.
Okay, great. Great. Thank you, Rushikesh. Much appreciated. If you could put your resources and your etc. into the Slack channel, that would be perfect, and then everybody will have somewhere to find it.
Yeah, I'll positively do that.
Fantastic. Thank you. You also answered your questions as you went along, so we don't have any extra questions. The only thing I would say is I'm glad to see that the demo gods are still alive and well in India.
Yeah.
There's never a conference that goes by where a demo doesn't go smoothly, So, yeah, very good, very good. Rushikesh, thank you very much indeed for your talk. Very interesting. Thank you for elaborating on everything. And yes, if anybody would like to follow up with Rushikesh, please jump into the Slack channels, and hopefully, Rushikesh, you will be there as well.
Yeah, Tom. Before concluding, let me share last slide where I have actually mentioned my email and Twitter. So in case somebody want to reach me on those channels, that will help. If that's okay.
Yeah,
We
that's
have, I
fine,
think, 3 minutes.
please.
Sure.
So if the magicians in the back could just take a quick look at that, that'd be great. If you get your screen up.
Yeah, should be here.
And Rushikesh, I must say, I find your choice of T-shirts very, very good. I'm really impressed. BSides
Thank you.
2017, excellent stuff. Glad to see.
Yeah, first edition. I was fortunate to attend that.
Yeah. I've been to them all. I'm glad to say, in one form or another. So, but anyway, here we go. Here's Rushikesh. Sorry, excuse me. Rushikesh's email and Twitter, folks. So please, obviously, a lot of knowledge and talent to tap into there. Reach out to him on here. Brilliant.
And that's exit
And
zero.
exit. Look at that. Brilliant. Thank you, Rushikesh. Really appreciate it.